In this podcast episode, Ed Husain, a prominent commentator on Middle Eastern politics and Islam, shares his insights on a range of pressing issues, particularly focusing on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the role of Iran, and the dynamics of Muslim communities in the West. Husain argues that the current conflict between Israel and Hamas did not begin on October 7, 2023, as many narratives suggest. Instead, he posits that the roots of this violence can be traced back to long-standing tensions, including the planning and stockpiling of arms by Hamas, which has been supported by Iran. This historical context is crucial for understanding the motivations behind the actions of both sides. Husain emphasizes that the conflict is not merely a reaction to recent events, but rather a culmination of decades of animosity, ideological battles, and geopolitical maneuvering. He further elaborates on the historical grievances that fuel the conflict, noting that the destruction of the caliphate in 1924 and the subsequent rise of nationalist movements have left many in the Muslim world feeling disenfranchised. This sense of loss and the desire to reclaim a perceived historical glory often manifest in violent extremism, as seen with groups like Hamas. Husain's perspective invites listeners to consider the broader historical and ideological frameworks that shape contemporary conflicts, rather than viewing them as isolated incidents. A significant portion of the discussion revolves around Iran's influence in the region. Husain asserts that Iran is a primary driver of instability, supporting groups like Hamas and Hezbollah to further its geopolitical ambitions. He predicts that Israel will eventually take military action against Iran, although the timing of such an attack remains uncertain. This potential conflict is not merely a matter of military strategy, it is also deeply intertwined with the political landscape in the United States and the upcoming elections. Husain's analysis highlights the complexity of Iran's role in the Middle East, portraying it as both a threat and a player in the broader geopolitical game. He argues that the Iranian regime's support for militant groups is a strategic move to project power and influence, often at the expense of its neighbors. This dynamic complicates the prospects for peace, as any military action against Iran would likely escalate tensions further, drawing in various regional and global actors. Husain expresses concern over the British government's reluctance to ban organizations like the Muslim Brotherhood, which he likens to a Nazi party. He argues that the Brotherhood's roots in fascism and its anti-Semitic ideology pose a significant threat to British society. This failure to confront extremist ideologies, he suggests, allows them to flourish within the UK, undermining social cohesion and security. The discussion touches on the broader implications of this inaction, particularly in light of recent protests in London that have shown support for Hamas. Husain argues that the lack of condemnation from prominent Muslim organizations in Britain reflects a troubling trend of silence on issues of terrorism and extremism. He believes that this silence not only emboldens extremist groups, but also alienates moderate Muslims who wish to distance themselves from such ideologies. Husain acknowledges that British society is facing significant challenges, including rising sectarianism and political polarization. He notes that many people in the UK are increasingly concerned about the influence of extremist ideologies on public life. This concern is exacerbated by the perception that political leaders prioritize foreign policy issues over domestic concerns, leading to a disconnect between the government and the electorate. Despite these challenges, Husain maintains a sense of optimism about the future of Britain. He argues that while the situation may seem dire, history has shown that societies can adapt and evolve. He emphasizes the importance of political leadership in addressing these issues, suggesting that a renewed focus on British values and identity could help bridge the divides within society. A significant theme in Husain's discussion is the compatibility of Islam with Western values. He argues that the perception of Islam as inherently incompatible with the West is misguided. Instead, he believes that the challenge lies in the interpretations of Islam that have emerged in recent decades, particularly those that promote extremism and violence. Husain contends that the vast majority of Muslims in the West are peaceful and law-abiding citizens who wish to integrate into their societies. He emphasizes the need for a more nuanced understanding of Islam, one that recognizes the diversity of beliefs and practices within the Muslim community. This perspective challenges the binary view of Muslims as either extremists or moderates, advocating for a more inclusive approach that acknowledges the complexities of individual identities. Throughout the podcast, Husain stresses the critical role of political leadership in addressing the challenges posed by extremism. He argues that effective leadership must confront extremist ideologies head-on, rather than shying away from difficult conversations. This includes banning organizations that promote hate and violence, as well as fostering a sense of national identity that is inclusive of all citizens, regardless of their background. Husain believes that political leaders must articulate a vision for society that emphasizes shared values and common goals. This vision should include a commitment to individual freedoms, the rule of law, and respect for diverse beliefs. By fostering a sense of belonging and purpose, leaders can help mitigate the appeal of extremist ideologies and promote social cohesion. Husain offers a sobering assessment of the future of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, suggesting that a resolution will require significant changes in both Israeli and Palestinian leadership. He argues that the current leadership on both sides is entrenched in a cycle of violence and retribution, making it difficult to envision a peaceful resolution. However, he also expresses hope that new leaders could emerge who are willing to engage in meaningful dialogue and seek compromise. He emphasizes the need for a two-state solution that recognizes the legitimate rights of both Israelis and Palestinians. This solution must be grounded in mutual respect and a recognition of each other's historical claims to the land. Husain believes that achieving this balance is essential for long-term peace and stability in the region. Husain touches on the importance of humor and cultural exchange in bridging divides between communities. He argues that a shared sense of humor can help break down barriers and foster understanding among people of different backgrounds. This cultural exchange is particularly important in a world where misunderstandings and stereotypes often fuel conflict. He reflects on the historical context of humor in Islamic culture, noting that the Prophet Muhammad himself engaged in light-hearted banter with his companions. By reclaiming this tradition, Husain believes that Muslims can contribute to a more positive narrative about their faith and its compatibility with Western values. Education emerges as a critical theme in Husain's discussion, particularly in relation to the radicalization of young Muslims in the West. He argues that many young people are drawn to extremist ideologies due to a lack of understanding of their own faith and its teachings. This gap in knowledge can lead to a distorted view of Islam that emphasizes conflict over coexistence. Husain advocates for a more comprehensive approach to education that includes a focus on critical thinking and the exploration of diverse perspectives. By equipping young people with the tools to engage with complex issues, he believes that society can help mitigate the appeal of extremist ideologies and promote a more inclusive understanding of Islam. Husain concludes by emphasizing the importance of crafting a new narrative around Islam and its place in the modern world. He argues that this narrative must challenge the prevailing stereotypes and misconceptions that often dominate public discourse. By highlighting the contributions of Muslims to society and promoting a message of coexistence, Husain believes that it is possible to reshape perceptions and foster greater understanding. This new narrative should also address the historical grievances that many Muslims feel, acknowledging the injustices of the past while promoting a vision of a shared future.